Welcome to a new video. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. The first story is called, I Don't Have the Time. I started working for a local council IT support desk in 2005. The standard operating procedure for answering calls was that when the phone rang, we take the user details, their fault description and attempt to fix the issue. This went on for 6 years. Until we had a new manager, with several innovative ideas which we all knew was not going to work in our particular environment. The new manager calls a meeting with the entire team including his own manager and the head of IT. He lays out the new rules and procedures. We stated that his procedures were not going to work because of various other protocols and the distance between sites. No one in authority listened to our concerns. Two main policies were that we divided into 3 shifts, and that only the day shift is supposed to spend time fixing the more complex issues. Morning shift and late shift are simply call takers. Call takers had 2 minutes per call, and any breach was brought up at your monthly review. Of all the new policies, the 2 minutes per call rule was the worst. Not only did we have a mere 2 minutes to take a call, we had to attempt some troubleshooting and write up all the notes. If this was a new employee, we also had to add their details onto the system. Being the most senior support person on the team, I made a mental list of what I could do in that 2 minutes. It was a small list, but it meant that when the first shift started at 7, most of the important work could be done. After a month, the department was in chaos. Because we could only work 2 minutes before handing it off to the day shift, there were a lot of calls for the 3-day shift workers to attempt to fix. The outstanding queue went from 100 calls to nearly 2,000 in that month. I maximized my time on every call. If I couldn't fix the call, I ensured that every call would take just under the 2-minute mark, then dumped them in the day shift call queue. Dropped calls increased drastically, and one of the team went on long-term sick due to stress. Eventually the boss decided to come in early and see what the problem was. He sees me and another tech taking calls and stands over us while we work through the calls. We both take less than 2 minutes per call, and follow his rules to the letter. He has no reason to complain, but sees that the calls are dropping. With 2 people taking calls, 2 minutes per call and a peak of 30 calls around the 8:30 time meant that lots of these calls dropped then call back later. Later in the shift, I see him checking call stats and see his face get red. He knows that his policy is not working. The following day, the boss calls us all into the meeting room and states that we must work harder or smarter. He tells us that we need to use the on-site support team to handle the logged calls instead of the day shift. We still had the 2-minute rule and the same staffing levels. I mentioned a couple of times that VIPs couldn't wait and that we need 4 people taking calls from 8. I was told that the rules still stood. The day after, and we find out that on-site support have no free slots for over a week, which is 3 times shorter than the day shift's waiting times. Boss is in and instead of logging on to the phone, he's simply floating around. As 8:30 rolls around, I answer yet another call. This is a VIP. The chief executive. He's in a meeting room, 70 miles away, attempting to turn on his laptop but he can't get past the encryption software. It's an easy fix, but takes 10 minutes over the phone. I can't do it because of the 2-minute rule. I'm torn between dropping the calls or annoying the chief executive. Boss sees me hesitate and asks what's going on. Laptop encryption, he's in a distant town. The boss shut me down. Handed off to desktop. I told him that they wouldn't be able to get out for over a week and that the day shift could fix it, but this is stopping him from working. Day shift is too busy. I don't care who it is, hand the call off. He told me before walking off. I took the details and told the chief executive that I'd have to hand the call off. I made the notes on the call and gave the incident reference. I realized that I hadn't told him who it was, but he could get this information easily. I also saved and replayed the recorded conversation to find that my boss could be heard clearly. After lunch, I was called into the office of the head of IT. He chewed me out for leaving the chief executive without anything to present the council's vision of the future for the town. I was told that the chief executive wants someone's head for the treatment and that formal proceedings had started and I was to be suspended on full pay, and did I have anything to add? I told the head of IT that my boss had told me to do it, and when I started to explain about it, he walked away. I also told him that if he pulled my phone log for that call, he could hear the boss saying that. I was told to stay in that office while the head of IT checked. An hour later, I was told to go home on full pay and return in the morning. The result was that the new boss was replaced, and a new boss was placed there, promoted internally, actually listened to his staff and let us suggest improvements. The next story is called Dress Code Compliance. This happened several years ago when I was a senior in high school. I'm a mum of 4 in my late 30s now, so this story took place in the late 1990s in the United States, before cell phones, in the heyday of dial-up internet and chat rooms, when only the rich kids had pages. In the middle of my senior year, our public high school started a ridiculously strict gender-specific dress code. We all just showed up to school one Friday and the entire campus was plastered with flyers listing the new dress code rules that would be immediately effective starting the following Monday. Teachers also gave everyone a copy of the flyer in every class that day. The big dress code change was very much targeting the senior class because there had been a recent passive-aggressive protest of sorts regarding what we felt was unfair enforcement of a casual dress code rule. Specifically, girls were not allowed to show their breasts, a rule that had been intended to stop low-cut cleavage revealing tops that were popular at the time, especially at dances. Unfortunately, some of the school staff had started translating the rule into some kind of zero-tolerance stance against all breasts. Every day. If your colored bra vaguely showed through your light-colored sweater, you were busted. If your backpack pulled your t-shirt collar to the side and revealed a hint of a bra strap, you were busted. God forbid anyone ever wear a tank top when it's 100 degrees out, because if a strap showed, you were busted. And being busted meant you were immediately sent to the office and forced to change into a filthy set of PE clothes that had dress code violation written on the name tag box and across the back, which you had to wear for the rest of the day. It was public shaming and the girls got sick of being hassled pretty quickly. So we all just stopped wearing breasts. Needless to say, the school responded by punishing us with a dress code policy that was both ridiculously strict and extremely gender-specific. The rules for each gender covered an entire page each and I can't remember them all, but here is a taste. For girls, no skirts shorter than knee length, no open-toe shoes, no cleavage, proper undergarments were required but not allowed to show, no hair color, no pajamas, no overalls, etc. For boys, no wallet chains, no baggy pants that showed your undergarments, no hats or bandanas, no shirts with logos, etc. The school went above and beyond typical rules meant to assure modesty and prevent fighting and decided to remove everyone's self-expression and style. The acceptable clothing items listed were akin to school uniforms. It was way more strict than I can successfully explain. All I can say is that everyone was in the local AOL chat rooms that night and all weekend we were coordinating with each other. Monday morning came and our senior class was extremely cooperative with our new dress code. We followed it to the letter. The girls, for example, didn't wear a single low-cut shirt, open-toed heel or miniskirt because we had lent all those things to the boys to wear. And boy did they wear them. Even the senior football players. So many bra straps. The ladies wore our brothers' or boyfriends' or guy friends' baggiest pants with boxes showing and wallet chains and hats. We all totally embraced it too. We all hunkered down, ready to strut our new duds for the rest of the school year if needed. Needless to say, the school realized their error and how committed students were to the plan by the next day when the juniors and underclassmen jumped on board too. The dress code was immediately withdrawn. It was eventually brought back at the beginning of the next school year, but with the gender-specific portions removed. So all rules applied to all students and guidelines softened significantly based on student and parent input. The way it should have been done in the first place. The school fought tooth and nail to keep any mention of the dress code incident out of the yearbook that year and banned all photos of that day from being published in the school paper. The last story is called Happy to Oblige. I went to see a movie with my girlfriend last night and the movie was awesome. Walking out of the theater later on after the movie, I and my girlfriend were quick to notice a small parking spot war has ensued behind her car. Looked to me like two young men each in their own car were battling for the space that my girlfriend was soon to vacate. I helped her load the last of her stuff into her car and went to walk across the lot to my Jeep. As soon as I got seated and my engine started, I looked at my girlfriend and she was still in the space. Half backed out of it with both of those cars jammed in behind her. These guys were having a standoff feat behind her car over a front parking space. I drove around and got out of my car. I was livid. I yelled at both of them to move so she could leave and they could continue their fight. One guy rolled down his window to protest. He said he was here first and that the other guy was being a jerk. Whatever, not my issue. I just wanted us to both leave and let them have their fight. The second car said nothing. I stormed back to my Jeep and waited for my girlfriend to leave. She squeezed her way out. I was still near the two guys after she left. I rolled down my window and yelled at the guy in the second car for being so stupid and making her feel like she couldn't leave all over a stupid space. I was angry at this point. The guy stopped his car as he was halfway backed into the space that he had won and got out. He stood up and his first words to me were, "Get out of your car. Let's go." I guess he wanted to fight over this? Not worth it, I thought to myself. I am not going to fight you over something so petty, dude. I shouted back in anger. Next time learn to be patient for 5 minutes before acting like a total idiot. This flared him up as he had his girlfriend in the passenger seat. I could see the king penguin flare his chest out. What came next was a verbal barrage unlike any I have ever heard before. I like to think I know a lot of nasty words, but this guy was educating me on some other type of level. If you want me to move so bad, then move my car yourself. Racial slurs followed by such vulgar and nasty speech that I was in total shock that a human could speak this way to someone else. And that over a parking spot. I drove away and really just did not want to argue with him any longer. I guess I was the loser in that situation. But honestly, it just didn't seem worth it. As I drove away, he shouted more at me. And it was enough. I was shocked. It is sad to see young men act this way. What was even lamer was the fact that a family of 5 was walking about 12 feet away out of the theater with their 3 little girls. I snapped. I kept driving and went over to the next parking lot. I sat about 200 yards away with my car running for about 5 minutes. Watched him park his car. And walk inside with his girlfriend. So I made a choice to retaliate just a bit. You can tell me I was wrong for doing this, and honestly, I think I will agree with you on that. But my gosh, did it feel so good. I pulled off to an empty spot and got out of my Jeep. I put my front bumper winch into neutral and spooled out about 6 feet of cable. Tossed the loose cable and drove over to his Honda. Nobody was in the lot, thus nobody was in danger. I checked my surroundings. Hooked the hook on the cable to the tow hook under his front bumper. This ensured no damage to his car in any way. I put the Jeep in 4 low and slowly backed up. When I left, his car was in the middle of the road. Cars could still get by, but they would need to go around about 70 yards. I don't know what happened after that. My guess is an employee probably had to go find this guy and get him to move. Otherwise, he got towed. Was I right to move his car? No. But technically, he did ask me to move his car myself. And I was oh so happy to oblige. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.